Hello and welcome to Model Railroad Design's Roasts. This is the video series diving into your layout submissions with expert insights and a sprinkle of fun. We review each design respectfully, offering tips to refine your track plans, scenery, or operations, all to fuel the passion of model railroading. You want your layout to be roasted? Check the link down below. Let's kick things off with today's submission from Scott. So here is the layout that Scott sent the Warwick and Western in HO scale. It has two decks. This is the upper deck and a logging spur. So let me just go to this is a logging spur here on the right. Let's just go to the lower deck and start there. Turn the logging spur off, the helix as well. Let's just go through the design to get a bit of an understanding and see if there's anything that perhaps we can change or improve and see if we can make sense of it all. So here on the far right, we have a helix, and we get to the helix here on the right through this track, and we also have some staging tracks here. See, and then there's a track that makes a loop somewhat underneath the helix and around the helix, the reverse loop. And we all come here into this section, and immediately this strikes me as a very dense, busy section. Not necessarily a good thing. We have, the helix coming in, the roads here. This goes down to staging. Oh, those are those tracks back there, okay. Then along the back wall, we have some industries that we get with a little switch here, okay. And yeah, the yard is here from this turnout onward, so there must be a yard lead that goes into here, yes. And then in the foreground is a turntable with everything that goes with that. For coal, I see, diesel as well, diesel, ash pit, fine. Yeah, very dense, straight off the bat. Let's just continue. Here, the density, it continues as well. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 tracks. All have their own function. So maybe we can look into that. There's a icing track right here in the middle of all the way over there. Okay. Then we come to this, almost like a second type of layout. I think this has already been built because he did send me some pictures. So let's have a look at that. Here's some switchbacks. Okay. Doesn't look like it's finished yet, but he completed 80%. If not, maybe it is finished. That would add some more bushes and stuff, but maybe it is finished. Okay, and this is how it sits in the room. He added some more bushes and trees, so I was right about that. And some more structures. So here down below the barge, engine shed. Okay, buildings. Yeah. Okay, fine. So I do have some remarks of this section, although it's already built. Let's just continue. Here we have, okay, return loop around the milling pond. Okay, fine. Let's just start here on the right. One thing I would suggest to do a little bit different is we have this helix here, and the return loop dives under the helix, and this is going to be so tight in terms of height. You probably have to go down with the reverse loop. I don't know why, that just makes it overly complex. I would really try to make it around the helix instead of this half underneath thing, because you're not going to have enough height, I think. Then, yeah, that's going to compromise these staging tracks. Yes, okay. That is true, but it is getting very dense up here. Maybe you can do with one staging track or two, or try to shuffle it around. Let the staging tracks start a bit earlier instead of going all the way behind the helix. So that would be one point I would look at. I would do a bit different. And then we come into this whole complex here. There's so much happening. We go down the staging. We have the return loop. We have the yard lead. We have the continuation of the main line. And then also we have this industry back here. I think it's too much here. Also visually, you're going to have the industries in the back and then this whole engine facility right here. But I do have an idea how we can change that a bit. It's also just going to be dense. This track is going to be blocked so much because of the yard lead. To actually what is also a massive yard. We still have an upper deck, but I have a feeling that we have a lot of yard. And because you need quite a big layout to fill decent sized yard, and this is a decent sized yard. So I don't know if we're going to have enough spots. And by spots, I mean locations, industries where a car can be spotted, can be placed. And also we have too many tracks here. So if we look at the function of the tracks first, we have, I guess this is the main line here, somewhat, although you both have to take diverging track from the turnouts. And then we have the passenger depot. So this has its own track, mainline has its own track, and the arrival has its own track, and departure has its own track. Now I would opt to combine some of these tracks. So have let's take one track out, let's do that. And then have one track that's either a departure or the main through track, or maybe it can be an arrival and departure, and then the main through track would be through the passenger depot. Something like that, just to get rid of one of the tracks here. There's just too many tracks, and again, you need quite a lot of traffic to justify a separate departure, arrival, through, and passenger depot. And I'm not really seeing that in the rest of the layout, because all we have after this is basically a passing siding, another passing siding with a few industries. And this first siding, okay, it says interchange, so we could spot some cars here, but it's not super long. And then they have to wiggle all the way down and back, wiggle back all the way up to the switchbacks. So I think this, yeah, we could reduce some of that. Now, the big idea I would have for this is to flip everything around. So let me just do that, and we'll have a look. So we said we delete one of these tracks. I'm just going to take that one out. And we're just sketching here. This is by no means at all fixed. So I'm just going to flip it, boink, just like that. And then I'll probably also take the turntable out. I'll come back to that in a minute. It's quite a big step, but I'll get back to that in a minute. And then all of a sudden, if we put it somewhere like this, and then all these engine facility items, again, we're just sketching. I know this is not everyone's cup of tea, but we're just freehanding. See how we can quickly just improve the layout or alter the layout a little bit. So you see, we flipped the yard around and we took one track out. And we could even make it a little bit closer to that. And you see how much space we have on the right now. And here we could have some separate industries that deserve a little bit more space and more track. And then here on the left, if we look at how much space we have, talking about space, 35, fine. What we could do is maybe create a little bump out. Make sure you still have enough space to pass. Obviously round it off, like I said, we're just quickly doing this. And then you can have a few tracks with a caboose track in an ash pit, in a fueling, in a diesel facility, but without the turntable. The turntable is just such a space hog. And I mean, you could maybe even squeeze it in here if you would really want to. But I think you'd probably be happier to have it a bit more space, a bit easier, lighter, more digestible to have something like this. Yeah, on this layout. And on the other side, so we still have 1, 2, 3, 4 tracks. One of them, you could add another one and then make that one go to the industries here, something like that. And then really have some space for maybe a little, well, not a town or a city, but some buildings with some purpose. And then 1 or 2 industries here on the track. And there's team track here. You could put that somewhere up there. And then just space it out a little bit. I don't know. That might be an idea. So by flipping the yard, now the yard lead is on the left, and that spreads out some of the traffic density and the functionality of the track. So it's not all piled on here on the right, but some of it is now on the left. And it will also make operating the layout with more than one person easier, because someone could be on the left side where the yard throat is and the yard lead, and another person can be on the right side where the industries are. So just putting everything back, I do spot a problem, an issue up here on the top, and that is that this track, so this track here all the way to here, serves 1, 2, 3, 4, potentially 5 industries, but this track is just not long enough to be practical and to serve this. Because if there's a car here at Winger Paper Bag or Ravenwood Leather and you need to go to Nesbit or Matthias Spring and Wire, then you basically have to get them out of the way before you can serve these. And that's a real pain in the rear end. Because that means you have an engine and then a car behind it. Let me just make it a bit smaller. So let's say a car behind it. And you have to go in this direction to serve Nesbit. So that basically means you got to go head on, take these cars that are here out, spot them, I guess, here, which is on this, remember, very super condensed area going to staging, reverse loop, helix, mainline, etc. Just to switch this. And I don't really see that work quite well. So what could you do? Really quick fix. Bomb, take that one out, put that one there, and just serve it from here. Just like that. Take that one out, extend that track to there, this to there, and you gain an extra industry right there. I think that would be probably give you a little bit more satisfaction, fun to switch. So yeah, that's that. We talked about this helix area. We talked about this. We flipped this around. I mean, I would really suggest to flip it around. It would make a bit more sense in my mind, at least. And then we come to this area. Now, I know it's finished, but I just want to make a comment for everyone who hasn't finished your layout yet, or maybe you can change things easily if you do wish so. Of course, everyone has his own taste and style. But I had this in my previous layout with all these switchbacks, and it drove me absolutely nuts. And I shall explain why. So we come back to our car. So this orangey color, that's going to be your car. It's going to be right here. It's on the interchange. And then this is going to be your locomotive. Your locomotive is here, I guess, in the engine house. So let's say we want to get this car onto that car float. Well, let's just count how many moves that's actually going to take. So we're going to start here. And every time we have to switch direction is one move. So let's go. 1, 2, pick the car up, back. 3, switch back. 4, 5, 6. And then we put them here on this siding. 7, because we need to run around. 8, 9, pick the car up. 10, reverse. 11, and then 12, put them on the car float. 12 moves. And for me, that's a bit too much. So is this just me? Like, what is your guys' opinion on this? Is one switchback too many, or do you just prefer to shimmy across the layout from one switchback to the next? Let me know in the comments down below. I would like to know what the general stance is on switchbacks. But personally, I wouldn't do it like that. And you see also that there's 1, 2, 3 sections of 4% grade. I think there is some grade here as well, but this is the most of it. And it's actually not that long. So you could have this track continue a bit further down and then have your switch back and take one of these out. It's going to get a bit tight, I think. So to go all the way down, and then have a switch back here. So you have to go into this team track a little bit and then somehow try to make it maybe in team up to this area. So you kick this switch back, delete that one. But maybe an easier fix would be to actually take the track off of here. So you come off here, you come on the inside actually, and then you start going down. Then you jump underneath the track with a nice bridge, and then you connect somewhere here. So then all this area, you already gain a lot of height. And then from here, you can still go down and still have maybe one switch back, and then go down here, so 2. And then you're there, so you get rid of 1. If that's not your cup of tea to go inside and through a bridge, you could just take the outside track as well, go around the lighthouse, something like that. Yeah, that's the main critique I would have with this area. And I think the note for, I know this is all the small scale railroading with little, that tackle bait shops and a little wharf and a small car float. But we do need to keep some things in mind. So if we have like 2 or 3 cars on this car float, where are we going to put them? So you have to have immediately take them up, or maybe put them here, but then the runaround doesn't work anymore. So giving yourself this luxury of having, you know, a little bit more siding length would not be, yeah, a bad idea, I think, just to foresee some future frustration. Okay, yeah, here, sawmill. I always like this classical sawmill setup. It's a bit shifted to the right. I don't know why you couldn't go more to the left here and fill this space up. What I would do or suggest, because now it's just a siding here, Warwick passenger station. Let's move it to the left. Is maybe add another industry that's not lumber related, and that's also not a facing siding, but a trailing one. I mean, of course, there's a return loop here, so it depends which direction you're coming from, but have it in the other direction than these two. So maybe something coming off here off the side or something. So that connects to there, and then something maybe somewhere here, something like that. And maybe it's a little team track, or just to mix it up to get an extra industry in there. Because we need to look at the number of industries as well. Like I said, we have just a buckload of track here. We already removed, I think, one of these tracks, but still we have a lot of trackage. So we need a lot of industries. Now I'm counting 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, 5 is a big one. 6, 7, and then the car float 8, 2 cars 9, so maybe 9 or 10 industries, and that's not going to fill up this track right there and the team track there. Okay, let's go to the upper level. Now this is the upper level, and there is a logging spur. Let me just turn it off for a second. I think we can all see a little bit what that is. Let me turn it off for now. Let's get our head around this a little bit. So we have the helix here on the right, this whole track, and I'm just trying to see what's happening. So we're coming up. There's helix down. Okay, but there's a 1-track helix, so this is also helix up. And then either we take a return loop, and then we go counterclockwise, or we don't take the return loop and we switch over, and then we go clockwise around. Okay, so we have a small Mayberry here with one industry siding. We have a red mountain line that goes all the way here, a bit of a, yeah, bit of a wonky parallel track. And then we have granary. Okay, I think this is just a placeholder building because it needs to be a little bit smaller. And then we have the main line that goes here, and then we have a siding for the passenger station. Fine. And then we have this track here that goes to the logging spur up there. Okay. Let me turn back off, and then here we have a yard, somewhat half attached to that, of which this wonky sidetrack goes to. So let's unravel this a little bit. First thing is, what I would not do is have this return loop here. I know it's underneath the lumber mill on the bottom, but that doesn't mean I think that it's nice to have this bump up here, because it's probably going to be, you know, chest height or higher. And I don't see the value of this return loop, to be honest. Let me just delete this. Boom. And then why don't we just, instead of that, have one track coming off the helix, because we have this whole helix return loop here. So let's make use of that guy. We have one track coming off here, obviously just a sketch. And then, so if you want to go counterclockwise, you come from here, you can go counterclockwise just like that. If you want to go clockwise, you can continue this track, but there is a lift gate here, I think, and this is getting complicated. So I'm just going to remove all this. And then we can just have another track come off from here. So something like that. So we come up the helix, and this dotted line. And then if you want to go counterclockwise, you can go here. If you want to go clockwise, you can go there. I think the story is also not really about clockwise or counterclockwise. It's about the fact that you have continuous running. So you come up here, you go counterclockwise, you do a loop, and then you can take this track back and go down, just as the old track plan had. But now, if we take all this complexity out to something like this, and then this scenic overlook in all of a sudden has its own little place here. Yeah, I don't know, that seems more natural. Then still, of course, if I turn the bottom layer on, I know it's getting a bit messy, but then you still have this bump out here for the milling pond. But at least you don't have, at least now you have the headroom, literally, to see it and to enjoy it. That's how I would do it. And then this Mayberry, we need more industries. So I don't know how, maybe take another siding right here. Let me zoom in a bit and have this be a little bit of an industrial area, or have another siding over here. Maybe a different, bigger industry if you want to go that way instead of all the space for the scenic overlook. But we need something more here. It can also be over the creek or somewhere here leading to the creek, and then there's some brewery or whatever it is, aggregate that makes use of the creek and the track. But I would suggest to have your village here, but also add some more track. And this ties also in a little bit to what's happening here on the top. It doesn't seem very defined yet. So personally, I think it would make more sense to put all this passenger stuff here in Mayberry. So have this be your town with a little bit more industries, and when your passenger depot, it would make sense to have a passenger depot there instead of here, yeah, what seems to be in the middle of nowhere or next to a logging connection to a logging camp. You can always have a flag stop here for the people that work at the logging camp to get on and get off. But yeah, I would do something like that. And then this yard, I think it's nice actually that the logging spur, let's have a look at the logging spur. Turn the helix off. Is here, okay, trailing siding there, a runaround and the trailing and a facing all the way up here. Okay. I think it would be nice to have this track connect straight into this yard. That would make sense, right? They got these long cars with the wood. They go into the yard. This passenger depot is gone. Somehow this is just a bit of a weird trackage, because you got this passenger right here and then this yard here. I would try to combine it a bit more, to be honest. Have this yard be part of whatever's going on here. Combine this a little bit more, and then it also frees up some space to put some very minimal scenery in the background. And this little track off here, I assume it's going up or down to the mine. I don't think I will put it behind the yard. There's just not enough depth here to have a main line, some kind of yard trackage, and then also this other track coming off here. I'd really just take that off there and get it from here somewhere. And then to make this a little bit special, this granary, and to make use of this corner, because this track here is not good use of corner. But if we can really simply, this little trick, make good use of that corner. So if we just put it like that, put a bit of like a switchback, then you can even have it a bit half against the wall of the granary like that. I think that would also make a little bit more, yeah, more space for scenery here, even if it's just to fill in with some woodwork, some trees, some bushes, stuff like that. Yeah. So in a nutshell, yeah, we got rid of that bump, and I think it is a bit more of a chic solution to have the same functionality but with less turnouts. And we free up this area here so we can add maybe more industries in this section as well. Some big, I don't know, mining camp or something, logging camp, mining camp, because in discussions with the client, I know that he wants to really operate this with multiple people, and we're going to want to have quite a lot of industries then if you really want to operate it for a couple of hours with 3-4 people. So I would suggest more industries. Yeah, clean this up a little bit and just make it a little bit more conventional. Having this logging camp come into the yard is nice, because then one person can switch that independently of someone else. That comes with the local to pick up, to drop off logging cars and then go back down. So this was the quote-unquote roast of this layout design, of this track plan. And actually, part of it is already built. It's quite a nice layout. It would really be beautiful. His modeling skills are quite good. There are some things I would suggest to change, just to not get stuck later on when you actually build the rest of the layout. Now, if you want to have your design roasted, check the link down below how you can submit your design. And do have a look at my store as well, where you can find ready-made track plans, or I can come up with a whole new track plan just for you. That is at modelrailroaddesigns.com. thank you guys all very much for watching. Do like and subscribe if you want to see more of these videos. See you on the next one.